Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Movie Critic Rob here of the Movie Channel, and I'm here today with my friend who does almost all my reviews with me, Don DeGregorio of Movie Lovers Unite. Say hey, John.
Hey, how y'all doing?
And we just actually did his for his channel the non-spoiler review of the just released Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, or as I say, should only be called Dawn of Justice. And we thought that because we like to, reward each other, that we do the spoiler-filled review for my channel. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's probably not a good idea that you're here right now. So with that said, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to skedaddle on over to the channel Movie Lovers Unite, where you can see John and me talk about it. And as least spoiler details as possible. I think we may drop one or two things, but nothing too horrendously bad that obviously you haven't seen in the trailers. But then again, most of this movie is revealed in the trailers anyway, so that might not be a good thing. Anyway, go on, check that check that review out, and then come back here for some spoilerific goodness for that candy at the bottom of the pile you just want to get to. Alrighty, with that said and with that cleared away and with enough time for you guys to skedaddle on over and go actually watch this movie, we're going to talk about it. And boy, is there stuff to talk about. So I'm going to hand the reins over to John so we can get this conversation kicked off because we have a lot to talk about.
First thing is first. When going to view this movie, I viewed it as a graphic novel. I viewed it as two things. Number one, The Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller comic. Number two, I did it as the death of Superman. Because you had Doomsday in it.
You say we're going to say the death of Superman lives, weren't you?
Yes, I was because
I knew it.
Because of the John Schnepp biography that I watched, The Death of Superman Lives What Happened. So that's why I said that. So anyways, I viewed it as those two things. And on those two things alone, that's how I was able to make my review a 4 out of 5. So basically what I love about this, I also mentioned the Easter eggs that were in the movie, kind of, but now I want to actually go into detail. Number one, the thing that I liked about it was you actually see a horse pass by Ben Affleck as he's in that pile with the people from Metropolis. And
how's that a spoiler?
Thing. Huh?
What spoiler is that?
Okay, it's an Easter egg. Basically, whenever you see the destruction and everything's going around him, there's a horse that goes by him. On the Dark Knight Returns, on the Dark Knight Returns, he rides a horse.
Duh! Oh, man, yeah, you're right.
You're right. So,
oh, wow.
Huh. So that's another thing that I liked about it.
I got you.
The other thing, too, is Robin. There was like a little tip of the hat. So my theory is it's Jason Todd. That would make sense that he was the Robin during that time and not Dick Grayson.
And now he's the Joker, and he's being played by Jared Leto.
Anyways, that's a theory for another time because I also don't. But with everything being said, now I love the Easter eggs in this movie because of those things that I mentioned. Then let me talk about the other stuff too that I liked because there's plenty of Easter eggs and stuff like that I still have to that I have to go in and look through. But the other thing too is
I'm so glad you mentioned that horse because that horse makes me appreciate the movie just that much better.
Right, because here I am going nuts over that horse in the movie. My girlfriend's looking at me like, What's so great about the horse?
You're disturbed anyway, so that it's not like that makes sense.
But here I am going gaga over this horse, and she goes, "What's so great about it?" I said, "That's the Dark Knight. That's the Dark Knight horse."
All I can think of is you in the movie theater doing the Deadpool on the unicorn.
But
just
aside from that. Now that I got the Easter egg, stuff like that out of the way, I want to talk about the Batman. Guys, I know you didn't like the Batman by the way he was.
Here's what I don't like about the Batman. Let me just get it out there before you start talking about it. The only thing I don't like about this Batman, I love the aesthetic. I love the way they do the character. I just hate the fact that they feel the need to have him with a gun shooting people. That's the only thing I didn't like. I like the darkness, I like the edge, but this is a man that feels that he's trained his body to the physical peak, and who in the comics has taken on godlike characters without a gun. So why the need to have him break the code of honor that he's had in 75 years of comics, and all of a sudden, for no reason? I know this Batman is sold as the more tattered and whatever, but seeing as this was the first outing of the new Batfleck, that I don't see the need to betray the thing that makes Batman Batman just for the sake of whatever. I just didn't see that. Now, Batman as a whole, I thought beautifully done. The aesthetic, awesome. I definitely noticed the Dark Knight Returns aspects of it, and how they played him up. Bruce Wayne was awesome. Like, I mean, because you have to analyze both Bruce Wayne and Batman in a sense, even though they're the same person. But when Bruce Wayne was on screen without the cowl on, I was legitimately impressed, and I was like, ooh. He actually he looked to me like Batman the Animated Series.
I agree.
Bruce Wayne. And I was like, yes. Yes, Batfleck, yes.
This is what I liked about the fact that this is a darker, edgier, this is a guy coming out of retirement that's kicked off pretty much at the world, kind of, because he's still going after criminals and stuff like that. And Alfred even catches him on it. He said, how are you going to arrest criminals when you're basically doing criminal acts like a criminal?
Yeah.
Because you came for something that was different. So with that whole entire thing with the collapsing of the building and everything, with his people in it, it actually changed who he was,
right.
I believe. And he's like, hey, I got to come out of retirement. Crime is back again. I got to stop this alien being from doing harm to anybody else, because he destroyed my building, but he also destroyed the people that I love, the people that I cared about, the staff that I put to take care of my building and everything.
What was the name of the guy who lost his legs?
Yeah.
What was his name?
I forgot his name.
Anyway, I said there, you destroyed his legs, you put him in a wheelchair, you're gonna die, Superman.
But I felt like that aspect worked for me, because he was a TikTok Batman who lost people he loved and cared about. So therefore, in order for him to be the way he is, he has to be darker. He thinks that he has to actually do the things that he needs to do to bring people down.
Not that this movie needs anything else, but I think that if they just didn't sell me enough. I think that, and maybe we'll see it in the director's cut. Who knows? But if they'd shown Robin, since they did a lot of flashbacks anyway, if they had a Robin flashback of Robin getting killed by Joker, or like Death of the Family style with a crowbar, or something visually to show why he's so broken, I would have bought it. Because go ahead.
Well, if you think about it like this, if you read the comics and you're not an average moviegoer, you already know why he's broken. You already know.
No, I don't know. I'm saying I'm approaching it, and the way I like to approach movies is from nothing, except what the marketing has given me. And so I like that he was violent, but I don't like that there was no explanation as to why, when this was his first outing in our eyes of this new character. Which is why, like, seeing something, because, like, okay, let me draw a parallel. In Dark Knight, the Joker killed Rachel Dawes, okay, who was the love of his life. If in Dark Knight Rises Christian Bale's Batman would have killed people, I would have bought it. For the reason that, okay, he's had his back broken. They even made it a point of having the doctor scene in there, which was actually pretty funny, of everything, he has no ligaments anymore, or, whatever. They made that point, and they made the point that he was broken, very Dark Knight Returns-esque. So if he would have killed, if he would have been the one to shoot Bane with the Batpod gun instead of Catwoman, I would not have minded whatsoever. Because this is a man who sees himself as defeated and who's trying to do whatever he can to save his city. He's broken, and he's not the same man he once was. With Batfleck, since this is the first time we're looking at him, it wasn't enough to sell me on the fact that, hey, this Batman kills now.
Well, like I said, you and I both see things a little bit differently,
right?
Which is cool.
And that's good. I mean, and that's the healthy part. That's what having, and that's why I like having different people with me to review films, because it gives two different perspectives. I mean, we align on most things, but not a lot. I mean, not everything.
Right.
So, and that's one of them.
Because it's subjective, and because it's subjective,
right.
We can actually debate friendly, and and bash one another.
Exactly.
So, okay. So another thing was that you said that you weren't sold on was Jesse Eisenberg. So what didn't work for you with his character?
I grew up with the Superman series. I watched the Superman series, all the all the shows, all the TV shows and the movies, the animated movies, and Luthor is always portrayed in one way, and it saddens me for this reason, because I know Bryan Cranston was in the running, admitted so by Zack Snyder, to play Lex Luthor. And they catered the role of Luthor around Eisenberg after he was cast, when it was not intended that way. I think that if we had seen the version that was intended before Eisenberg's casting, I would have been happier, because it would have been more the straightforward Luthor. Or at least and I think you're right when we said in the other review that you said that he was his son. They did in the movie, now that I remember, but they don't show that. They just kind of reference it. Again, with a movie that is much like Batman v Superman, when you're introducing all this stuff, you kind of have to show it for me instead of just referencing it, because to me, if you don't show it, it's kind of just cheap cop out of, oh, we can throw a line in there about how he's his son and not bring it up again. If you show me a scene where he's with his dad or a picture or something, I would have bought it, because it was just like, oh, by the way, he's Luthor and he's Luthor's son, and never mentioned again. Okay, that does not give you an excuse to do what you did to the character, because in everybody's eyes, he's still Luthor, and that's who you're that's who you're building as Lex Luthor, is this petulant child, who did not. He had good moments, but I felt that if they would have pulled more of the fact that, and I think some people got it more than I did, and I can see it a little bit. Again, more would have been nice to see that what he was doing on screen and what we were looking at was actually something hiding a darker self. I would have appreciated it more.
Well, what worked for me was this. I got why he was the way he was. Why he hated Superman the way he did. Because this is an alien. This is someone that can outweigh anybody, pretty much take anyone down, doesn't answer to anybody.
Not Batman.
But, there was this thing whenever he's talking to the congresswoman or the senator or whoever she was.
Yeah.
And he's giving her a perspective.
And he's talking to Elastigirl.
Right. He's giving a perspective of okay, there was this little girl I knew, and she answered to leaders and followers. And pretty soon, who is this person going to answer to? Who is he going to end up being? So he saw Superman as the threat before anybody else did. So he was trying to do anything he could to stop Superman. That was his ambition. And his ambition, too, was to pull the strings and the wool over everybody's eyes. Bruce, and also Superman's eyes by playing the puppet master and trying to get these two people to face each other. But he needed leverage to do so, to try and get these two people to face off against each other. He already knew that Bruce was already mad at the fact that his building collapsed. And so, and he lost people he loved. So that was enough right there to get these two people fighting against each other. To where he can just stay back and relax, be a distraction. They can be a distraction while he goes on ahead and does his whatever Lex does. And to me, I thought that was a perfect genius part of that movie. The dream sequences for me was a bit confusing and a bit choppy.
Thank you.
On some of it. And for the most part, the part with the Flash coming in there and then Bruce waking up, I'm like, okay, that didn't really sell me right there.
I'm like, no, it's funny because he was already having a dream and then he kind of woke up, but he didn't wake up. It was Flash. And then he woke up again. I'm like, this is Chris Nolan doing the sequel to Inception.
Right. But another thing, too, was that I liked was the Dark Side dream. I
liked the Flash cameo because I knew what it was. It was, they're trying to, it's Flashpoint Paradox, where he's warning all the superheroes. I knew what it was.
Me too.
And I actually liked it because it wasn't that, and they did show him, they showed the Flash and the camera when they clicked on the images and all, the whole reveal of all the Justice League members. But I liked having an extra one because that was what we saw first, and I was like, okay, I can buy that Flash. I like him. He's a little more somber and a little bit more serious, but then again, this whole movie is like,
It's more of a tone. But
yeah.
There is some humor, though, in it. There is some
Granny.
humor. Right.
Granny's peach tea.
That was hilarious. And then
that was the best joke of the movie.
Right, and not only that, but Jesse did that part geniusly.
Yeah.
He played that very well.
I love how this Senator Finch, she's looking at the bottle and or the mason jar, and she doesn't know what to do with it. She's spinning it back and forth and like just looking at it all weird and just like, did this bro actually pee in this cup?
Right. Am I drinking pee?
Right. Pee is the least. And I'm like, they went out there. I like it. And that was a risk that they took that was good, and it worked because it showed how entertainingly sick Luthor is.
Lexit. Right.
So I liked that because it was a joke that paid off. It was funny. I genuinely laughed, and yet it was so sick and nasty. It's just like something Luthor would do to get under somebody's skin that's not cooperating. I'm like, that was perfect. And then the bomb went off after that, and I'm like, oh shoot, that was good. I like that. Okay, I wasn't expecting that one scene with the bat, coming out of the or whatever, the thing coming out of the rock. I got startled. I'm in the movie theater, and I'm like, whoa, okay, giant bat, okay. I really
well, I saw Brooklyn jump a couple of times though in the movie too. Whenever she saw that, she was jumping too. She goes, "I didn't know if I was watching a Batman versus Superman movie anymore, or a horror movie."
Somebody made the mention that it was kind of like a nod to Man-Bat, and I was like, interesting.
But it was also
they nodded Man-Bat, they nodded Bizarro in a sense, when he got the nuke in the face, and then he was all like, and he looked old and gray, and I'm like, if they do Bizarro, that's what they need to do. He needs to look just like that.
I think they could do Bizarro in a Justice League movie.
Yeah, that it would make sense, it'd be, but
But what I love about Superman,
I want to see Brainiac. I don't know why, but I want to see Brainiac because I feel that if we have Brainiac, then we can really have Bruce Wayne show us world's greatest detective.
Right.
Because Brainiac challenges people on a mental level.
Right. But to be honest with you, I did see a lot more of his detective side in this movie compared to the Christopher
Oh no,
Nolan movie.
definitely. I'm just saying,
And I felt
if you want to cement this guy as your Batman, that's the villain to do it, because Batman is a cerebral hero as much as he is a brute. You know,
right.
so and everybody knows he can fight, and they showed it well in this movie that he can fight. I mean, he took on Superman 1. But to have somebody of that caliber of intelligence and then have Batman have to go up against him and beat him would be that much better and much more rewarding.
Right. Another thing too, though. Let me think what I was saying. Now, the thing that I didn't care for, and it seemed kind of odd to me that you would make Wonder Woman open the rest of the files and not Bruce Wayne. It was like his main focus was like, hot woman in a dress. I wonder what she is. Lex has different icons. Let me see what this one is. Ah, I found her. And
no, and then somebody pointed out, somebody at LexCorp had the brilliant idea and had the time to make logos for every single one of the Justice League members.
I know which one who you're talking about.
Who was that?
It was John Campea that was actually bringing
that up. It was John Campea. I'm like, that's so true. They had logos instead of just the name, which would have made much more sense.
It would make more sense if we just had a file name instead of the icons.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying. If they would have had, if they didn't do the logo and just had like a file name with something related to Flash and Aquaman or what, not even with the names on them, just something really like Scarlet Speedster or something. But no, they have to treat the audience like morons and put the logo of Aquaman and Flash and Cyborg on the. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you do that?
I was excited once he hit the link for Cyborg.
Yes.
Once the link, and then it was like watching like John Campea said. I felt kind of let down with that because I'm like,
with what?
It felt like a CW.
Yeah.
To it.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, you're looking at it, and the thing I'm not too harsh on the way they showed the Justice League because they're showing it. It's supposed to be security cam footage, which doesn't look good, and it's supposed to purposely not look HD, awesome. So,
and we're also viewing it on a computer
screen. By the way, they did Cyborg because they used the mother box, which I'm like. Right. To me, why is your movie 4 years away?
But still, I figured this out though. If you're a comic book fan and you're a fan of the comics, you're gonna wind up loving this movie.
Yeah.
Too.
Unless you've seen the second trailer, don't watch that second trailer.
Well, another thing too, my girlfriend is not a huge DC fan, but she came out loving this movie more than I did because of the fact that she was able to watch this movie and actually get attached to Superman, which she came out wanting Batman to win, and then she winds up coming out being a Superman fan. And to me, I thought that was actually pretty cool because she never really read the comics or anything like that, and for her to actually go in and watch this movie, she was really well pleased with this. The way
I did like about, now that we're talking about Superman, I did like the fact that when they go to fight, Superman does not go in there with the intent to fight. Even though, yes, he does throw the first punch, he does not go in there with the intent to fight Batman. He's trying to talk to him, and Batman's just like, that's it, bro. I'm going to kick your butt. Let's go.
I'm going to kill you.
And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome because especially with what they have set up with him, he is a man or, an alien who fears his own self, who fears his capabilities, who fears what he can do around other people. So, of course, and it played out exactly like I said, but I didn't mind it because they did it in a way that was enjoyable. because I knew Batman was going to win, because it makes no sense for Superman to win, because of the events of Man of Steel, because of every fight that they're in. Superman does never fights at full potential, unlike he had to do with Zod. So if Kryptonite was in the picture, which we already saw in the trailer it was, then of course Batman's going to win. Which brings me to one thing that I wish they would have added, and how they would have introduced the Justice League better. Which, when he goes into LexCorp, because remember, he goes into LexCorp to get the Kryptonite. We don't see it. Why don't we see Batman crawling around and getting the, like having to evade guards and getting Kryptonite? Because that would have been a better way to introduce the Justice League members through your computer files than an email.
That's true.
He could have been snooping around and been like, what is this file? Click, Flash. Oh, what is this file? Click, Aquaman. That would have been much more rewarding and would have played to the detective part than, hey, Wonder Woman, here's a file.
Right. And you see, that I do agree with. That would have actually played out nicely. Because, and I never understood, like I said, I never understood why Wonder Woman would open up those files and not Bruce Wayne or Batman.
Right.
To open up the files. Why would you make your unknown character that you're trying to form the Justice League with open files that would actually make more sense for the leader, which is Batman, to open?
Right. So, yeah. And again, and I'm gonna I hate referencing the trailer so much, but it did such a detriment to the film. Oh. One of the better fight scenes in this movie, which was one of the only 2 fight scenes, or 3 counting the Nightmare, that Batman did, and probably his best one, because the one with Superman was good, but I'm like, oh no, this was the one where he showed his ninja, was the one where, he like, oh, I'm gonna drop you off on the 2nd floor. That whole fight was given away by the trailer, which was the best fight ever. It would have been so much better to have another scene in LexCorp where he's having to fight guards and trying to get through the building. It would have been so much better, and it would have served the story that much better to have a set piece like that. But no, you got to devote more time to Doomsday and the creation of Doomsday and the building of the Justice League. It doesn't make narrative sense. And it's like, why the choices that were made, why would you do that?
Right.
So, that was one of my peeves, because somebody, I can't remember if it was Johns or if it was Stuckman who mentioned this, but this movie introduced a lot of story threads that had a lot of potential should they have taken them to their logical conclusion, and would have gotten you to the place they wanted to get you by their logical conclusion. But what they decided to do was add another storyline to chop your way there and get you there in some inorganic way, where you had all these threads present that could have driven you to a point that you wanted to get to already, and it just didn't do it, and because it didn't have the guts to do it. And I was like, why? Their logic was thrown out the window for some of these cuts. It's just, why would you do that? But it is what it is.
Right. Did you watch the deleted scene with Lex?
Oh yeah, I did.
I did too.
What? And I heard it was like it was supposed to be the new gods or something. I don't know. Like,
well, it was Darkseid.
Was that Darkseid?
I believe that was Darkseid. I believe that this isn't just pure speculation. This hasn't been confirmed. This is just me speculating. Right. All right.
Okay.
This is what I think. I think what he did was, you know how Superman had that thing, where he actually saw his father.
Yeah,
gave him the heat. Right.
Yeah, which played in the movie. Yeah.
Right. What I'm thinking is Lex did a little bit more backstory. A little bit more.
No, because the scene cuts, because he goes into the Kryptonian ship. The scene cuts right as the alien wakes up, and he's like, well, tell me everything.
Right. And I'm thinking that was Darkseid.
I'm
that was
pretty
in that
sure.
ship.
See,
And he was looking up the
cuts
history.
like that, which would have made, if they were left in, would have made more sense. Because the end scene of this movie, of course, it's talking about Darkseid, but you don't know that unless this scene is in there.
Right. And you see, I believe he went on ahead, looked up the history for Darkseid, and they actually gave you that golden nugget to say, this is who Darkseid is, and this is how he's going to play into it. And I thought that would have worked out perfectly well while he's trying to create Doomsday. I thought that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But hey, just to get that little deleted scene,
I
though,
want
in the director's...
to address something right now, which I've been thinking about for the last 2 days. The DC people have thrown so much garbage to Marvel and have said repeatedly, over and over and over and over and over, that they were going to be as different from Marvel as possible. And when a character dies, they're going to stay dead, and when they're going to be anti-Marvel. So let me get this straight. You killed Superman. Cool. Gutsy. I liked it. You did a good job. But then 20 minutes later, you tease him like he's going to come back, which we all know he's going to come back. But you don't have the guts to cut to black with us thinking Superman is going to be dead for a long period of time. No, you have to tease him coming back in the same movie. How are you different from Marvel again?
This is what I liked about that little thing. And I love the emotional attachment that I felt towards Superman when he's flying through there. And get this, I believe that was Jason Todd's staff that Batman has that kryptonite on. I believe that's what it was.
Cool.
Like I said, speculation.
Cool.
But I liked it when he was flying through there, and that battle with Doomsday was just fantastic. And he stabs Doomsday with that. And then you have the funeral. I mean it. My girlfriend and I were bawling because then I actually had to think about this for a minute. I'm like, that was pretty ballsy of you to kill off a character. That was pretty ballsy to kill off Superman. And
go ahead. I'll let you finish because I have a gripe.
I thought, that was pretty ballsy of you to do that. And then I'm like, but why would you do that whenever it's called Dawn of Justice? Is it because of the fact that Batman has to round these people up now because there's no one else that can actually, because they actually need another superhuman being to take the place of Superman? Or is it the fact that, there has to be some more hope left for other people to actually believe in? So therefore you have to form the Justice League. But they were playing this emotional roller coaster with me all the way through the funeral part. I'm like, is he alive? Is he dead? I said, he can't be dead. He's alive. Nope, he's not alive. And all of a sudden, I saw the dirt fly up. I'm like, okay, he's alive. And I got that little bit of closure.
Here's my gripe. Here's my gripe about the last act of this film. The trailer, when they showed Doomsday, the only thing anybody knows about Doomsday is Death of Superman. So, which meant this movie is going to be 2 comics put together: Dark Knight Returns and Death of Superman.
Which is what I brought up earlier.
So, because of that, there was no emotional gravitas. There was no emotions anywhere to be found from me except for anger in the last act of this movie. Because as soon as Doomsday showed up, I'm thinking to myself, so let me get this straight. The rumors that I have concocted in my head over the last year were true. Meaning, Superman is going to die, because we all know Superman was going to die after we saw Doomsday. And so then Batman and Wonder Woman are going to have to round up the Justice League, and then they're going to bring him back somehow I thought they were going to wait until Justice League Part 2, which would have been good. But no, they didn't even have the guts to do that. So you kill Superman, you give us this quote-unquote emotional moment, which only elicited more anger from me, because when the music started getting soft and all emotional and melancholy, I'm sitting there going, yep, you're going to do exactly what I think you're going to do. Because, and see, I wouldn't have minded that had they not revealed it in the trailer about Doomsday, because I knew exactly how this movie was going to play out just because of that trailer. So they do that. And then I'm thinking to myself, what?
I did too, to be honest. And you know me, when we were first doing our trailer reviews, remember what I said about why would you start a new franchise with the death of Superman?
Right. Yeah, and that's when I said, well, maybe they will be encouraged by his sacrifice, because of course Superman's going to die, to start the Justice League in his honor. So that's what I thought. And at first I thought, okay, they're going to do that because they had, they had the funeral scene, but no. DC apparently has no guts either, because of course the dirt rises. And that's what this movie should be called. The Dirt Rises. Because that's all that this movie is, the pile of dirt that rises at the end. And that's it.
But how about this? Let's think about it like this. We know he's alive.
Well, of course you know he's alive. He's Superman. But have the guts to cut to black on a negative note. This whole movie was dark. It was darker than a pile of poop. So have the guts to end it there.
But we know that he's alive. But Batman and all them don't know that he's alive.
But that does nothing for me. You have to treat me like you do Batman and keep me out of the loop.
Hold on. They don't know, though. So therefore, they don't know he's alive.
Yeah, until 2 seconds later, he flies out of the coffin. Here I am.
Hold on. But who's to say how many months or years later on in the next film, since the death of that he's been gone, that they actually have to do this in his honor to actually form the Justice League.
If they didn't have the guts to not cut to black with Superman in the grave, there's going to be no passage of time before he actually gets out of the grave. Because here's all that Superman has to do. Heat vision, and I'm out. So there's no sense for Superman to all of a sudden go into hiding, especially because they just teamed up together to fight this monster. So there's no sense for it whatsoever for him to do that. And because of that, I'm like, okay, so there's going to be no passage of time. The emotional weight that you put on there, that you so touted that you were like, oh, we're not going to be like Marvel. You've completely outdone yourself and slapped yourself in the mouth because of what you just did in the last 2 seconds of the movie. Why would you do that? Have the guts to cut to black with Superman in the grave and leave us with a big question mark, because that would have been a better selling point for Justice League, was to see, hey, does Superman make it out? How does he make it out? Join us next time in 2018 when we unveil the Justice League. But no, they didn't have the guts to do that either.
How do you feel about the part where he goes, "You gotta save Martha"? Who's Martha? Why did you say that?
That was excellent. That was the actual Batman v Superman fight. I have no gripes over. I have nothing negative to say about it because it was executed extremely well. Even though, of course, Batman was going to win, there was nothing that I saw that I would have changed and that I would have done differently, or that I disagreed with as a comic book fan or as a movie fan or as a movie critic. Because the setup, although the setup was a little cheesy, the fight itself was good, and the resolution of the fight was so out of left field, but it made so much sense, and it played to something that I had not realized, which is that both of their moms are named Martha. And I'm sitting there in the theater, was just mouth open, like.
I was the same way.
It was awesome.
I told my girlfriend, I didn't realize that.
See, if they would have failed on the Batman v Superman fight, then this movie would have been a 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 5. But because it did that well, then okay, fine, I'll give it 3.5, which is really not that bad of a thing. It's a mediocre film with really good parts in it, but it's nowhere near Age of Ultron good because it did not do as much good as it did bad. It did more bad than it did good. So I mean, I'm going to acknowledge the good things, but there isn't that much there to acknowledge.
Right. But I felt like the movie was solid for me because of the combo of the Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight Returns, and also the death of Superman.
Oh, you think my movie's your ally? You merely adopted the movie. I was born in it.
No.
Molded by it.
But I felt like it was pretty well done with that, though. But that's just me. You know, that's why I was able to give it a 4 out of 5.
Did you hear that Christian Bale was supposed to play somebody in Batman v Superman?
I heard that they were looking for a part for him in a.
No, Zack Snyder wanted to put him in there as somebody. Right. And I was like, oh, that would have been ballsy. That would have been good.
That would be interesting, though. I would like to see him as Black Mask.
I could see that.
I think it would be excellent as Black Mask. But I like
in this universe now in the DCEU, there needs to be like cameos from other Batmen, like as different people, or like have them play different characters. Because the people that have played Batman over the years are really good actors, and they've gotten better. And I think it'd be a good way to acknowledge the past in a kind of, you know, like a indirect way and still have fun with it. Because, I mean, how awesome would it be to have Kevin Conroy in a movie next to Batfleck playing something else and just, like, have him, like, cross paths on screen or something? I would geek out. I would be like... Or, like, Mark Hamill, like, get on screen and do something. Or, like, have him as, like, a poster with the Trickster's face on it or something. I'm like, that right there, son, that's what needs to happen.
But anyway. I thought that was, but like I said, I know I mentioned Wonder Woman about how I didn't really care for her too much, but I liked her battle scenes, though. I liked her battle scenes, and I also liked her scene in the party. I believed in her as Wonder Woman, as Diana, and I thought she did a fantastic job with that.
The first time that she came out with the suit on, I was like, okay, all right, cool, awesome, you're good.
I also like. I'll tell you what else I liked too was seeing that whip that she has. The lasso. I love that. I love seeing that. It was good to see that. And
okay. So one of the best scenes in this movie was when Bruce Wayne and Diana are at the party or whatever, and the sword is there, and Diana's looking at it, and Bruce is like, "Yeah, that's a fake. The real one is in such and such place." I was like, "World's greatest detective."
And then she winds up giving him a low blow, pretty much. Like, I already knew that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you guys just got friend zoned.
It was so good, and the interactions with them as humans, I thought was like, you know, as not their superhero counterparts, was so good. Batman and Wonder Woman, they had good chemistry, and they both carried that sense of, I'm not really who I say I am, because, you know, I'm really this superhero. But nobody wanted to really say it, because obviously you don't say that kind of stuff. And it was kind of like, I like that. That's what the movie needs more of, is more of that. So hopefully, here's what I think. And a lot of critics have said this, and I'm going to say it too, and it's not to jump the bandwagon. I'm not a bandwagon critic. But I think that somebody besides Zack Snyder needs to direct Justice League. Nothing against the man. I just feel that if he goes on too far, he's gonna fatigue out. And this movie clearly showed the signs of the superhero fatigue that everybody's been saying is going to happen. That's not to say the movie was bad. I clearly acknowledge there's some good parts, and 3.5 out of 5 is not that bad of a rating. However,
Fair.
huh?
I felt like that's fair.
But the issues could rise up because of this movie that the superhero genre is in trouble. It's nowhere near in trouble. However, you need to add fresh voices into the mix, which is something I think Marvel has done well with.
Right. Yeah.
Every movie that they make is by somebody else. So there is that voice of another fan of these characters bringing in their own take on it. Think about it. Zack Snyder has by now directed 2 tent poles for Warner Brothers for their DC Cinematic Universe. The bro's
Right.
gonna get tired.
Well, that's when I also made the point too. Last night I was in this other group, not the one that I got banned from.
Rebellious people.
Right. So, by the way, I'm back in that group again. So, anyway, well, anyways, this is what I said. One person's like, I want to have Zack Snyder do all of them because he's just awesome.
No.
I'm like, no. This is what I told him. I said, the dude is going to get tired. I said, look at what happened with Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I always use the Joss Whedon effect.
Yeah.
And also the Spider-Man 3 effect with Sam Raimi.
No. But yeah, that one's not that fair because everything wrong with that movie is Sony's manipulation.
Well,
not
that too.
Not Raimi. I think because Raimi had a good idea of what he wanted to do, and then Sony was like, "I'm gonna put this in the movie, which is why he didn't do a Spider-Man 4, which was what was originally planned.
But back to the Joss Whedon effect.
Yeah.
I was going to do. Okay, the dude is going to get tired. The dude was directing, writing, and doing it all.
Yeah.
So he had no one to share the workload with. So therefore, he's going to get overtired. We as human beings are going to get tired of working on the same project for a long period of time and become agitated to the point where we don't even care about the project that we're even working on. That's the same thing that's going on with what happened with Zack Snyder. So, do I want Zack Snyder to be on all of them? No. Do I want someone else? Yes, so the way somebody else can share the workload with that person and actually help the other person along. I think Zack Snyder needs to take a break from DC for a while and let someone else take the reins. Don't let him direct Justice League. Let someone else like the Russo brothers come in. Because those two are brothers, yes. But if one brother is tired, the other person can come in and do it. Same example. You can have 2 different directors directing this movie or writers that can share the workload. It's like, look, dude, I know you're tired, bro. I'm going to go on ahead. I'll take this one. You rest up. And when you get refreshed, I'll give it back to you. And I feel like that's what they need to do.
So Patty Jenkins is directing Wonder Woman. I don't know anything she's done. All I know is that she was attached to Thor 2 for a while and then left due to the infamous creative differences. So I don't know. I like the character enough to where I'm going to see it anyway. But I'm glad that they're seeking other voices, other directorial voices for the DC. My inner fan would love to see, especially a movie like Cyborg, be directed by somebody like Steven Spielberg, because, and here's why: Cyborg is a hero that has a lot of bases in reality. He's not, he's not a superhuman in the sense of like not Batman, Superman or Wonder Woman. He's grounded in some reality, but it is science fiction. And who is the king of science fiction? Steven Spielberg. And I think to have somebody of that caliber in your corner, in a sense, is good to have. And I think that with a movie like Cyborg, it's good to have a good draw. And I think Steven Spielberg's a good draw. That's just me being a fan and just telling you what I would want to see. And I think because Cyborg, from the 3 scenes that I saw in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, is the one I'm most excited about. I'm more excited about that than Aquaman, I'm more excited about that than Flash, partially because Flash I've been seeing on TV for forever. So, and Aquaman felt like they were shooting the scene in a pool, and it really didn't look real to me.
Or
So,
looked like something from the L'Oreal commercial or something. Where his
right,
hair was
yeah,
just-
exactly. He's like looking at the camera like, maybe it's Maybelline or something, you know.
yeah,
But
but
Cyborg was the one, and especially because again, he's grounded in some form of reality.
right, James Wan is actually going to be.
He needs a good grounded director that knows how to do this. Maybe Chris
Right.
Nolan could come back and do Cyborg. I think that would be a good chance for him to come back, especially because it's 4 years down the road.
It also depends on the script and how. It also depends on the script for that, though. If his direction would actually fit in with the universe that they're trying to create.
True.
But James Wan is actually directing Aquaman.
Who?
James Wan.
He directed Fast and Furious something, right?
Yeah, he did the Fast and the Furious. He did the Conjuring. So I can see him tackle on something like Aquaman.
See, it's like Doctor Strange. You have you have a director of horror directing Doctor Strange, Scott Derrickson, I think is his name.
Right.
That's awesome because he knows how to do wacky things that a lot of directors don't do on a regular basis. Not only that, but horror movies they tend to be cheap, not because I'm not saying cheap in the derogatory sense, but because you don't really have to pull in a lot of money for CGI effects in horror. It's just jump scares and try to atmospherics to make you feel tense, which, by the way, even though it's not a horror film, 10 Cloverfield Lane did really well. But I think that you need people that know the genres that you're trying to make. And I'm looking forward to what Patty Jenkins has to offer with Wonder Woman. It's gonna be kind of a period film, and it's gonna be kind of it's gonna be set on Themyscira because we saw the picture of the warriors in armor and the Amazons in armor. But I think it's gonna be good. I'm already drawing Thor parallels in my mind, which is not a bad thing, because I like Thor, the original. But I'm looking forward to that, and I think it's gonna be good.
But yeah, I mean, I just feel like Patty Jenkins would actually be a good fit because I think she's good with some fantasy-based stuff, and she actually knows what she's getting herself into.
Cool.
Because she is a goddess. Pretty much, Wonder Woman is kind of like a goddess, an Amazonian. So therefore, she would actually fit into directing this better than anyone else that I could think. Because she knows the tone, she knows what she's getting into, she knows what she wants to do, and the movie just got done. So I think we might actually see a trailer by Comic-Con.
We just talking about like finding directors that know the genre. Sometimes finding a director that doesn't know the genre could be rewarding too. I mean, look at the Russo brothers. The only thing they directed up to that point was comedies, and yet they hit it out of the park with Winter Soldier and made what I consider to be Marvel's only real good shot at a Academy Award, other than something in the visual effects field. And that's a great accomplishment. And I like what they did because then they gave them two of their best movies that they're going to have upcoming, which is Civil War and Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, which are going to be directed by them both. I'm like, that's awesome. And I'm excited to see what they brought to the table because as far as Captain America was concerned, they turned a guy that we all thought was a super gymnast and actually turned him into somebody I want to watch. Not to say that the first Captain America wasn't good. It's just they blew it out of the water. They brought a game to Captain America, and it was the best I had ever seen that character.
Right, I felt the same way.
So any closing thoughts going back to BVS?
Let's see. Other than the fact about my 3 check boxes, give us an awesome fight between Batman versus Superman.
Agreed.
Check. Number 2, give us a good Doomsday fight since that thing was spoiled for us. It kind of reminds me of back in Men in Black. Because on the trailer for Men in Black, they gave away the ending whenever that spaceship is crashing down and they shoot down the spaceship. That was the ending, pretty much. That was the climax of that part.
Or Terminator Genesis.
Right. Well, I never saw that movie, so I can't really say.
They gave it away in the trailers, too.
But I do feel like this. They gave us a good doomsday fight. They set up the movie, the tone perfectly well, to know why these two are going to be facing off. So that was another check mark for me. So you had those three key things working for you, despite the bad editing, despite everything else. The positive for me outweighs the bad. So that's why and then not only that, but I also gave this thing a 4 out of 5 now, based on the fact that it's based off of, because I looked at it from a graphic novel standpoint, from a comic book fan perspective, instead of an everyday moviegoer experience that doesn't really know that much about comics. And that's why I was able to give it a 4 out of 5.
Alrighty, so that's kind of our breakdown of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice from the more spoilerific side of the movies. But we want to know what you guys think, so please, by all means, comment below. I want to know what you think. And also subscribe to the movie channel. Also subscribe to the Movie Lovers Unite channel, which John heads up. And just check out his videos. I know they're pretty awesome. He does a lot of reviews of movies without me. Just him and a bunch of other videos as well. So check him out. And this has been Movie Critic Rob with the Movie Channel. And I'm signing off.